You've probably asked yourself this question: why did the United States and Israel attack Iran? But every time you search for an answer, you hear different stories, many of them confusing or contradictory. Very few people explain the real roots of these tensions in a simple and easy-to-understand way. That's exactly why I made this video. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the key events that shaped the conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel, and explain how we got to where we are today. So if you want to understand the bigger picture, make sure to watch until the end. And if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Contrary to what many people believe, this story didn't begin recently. To truly understand today's events, we need to go back to March 2006, when Iran announced that it had successfully enriched uranium to 3.5%. However, the real concern emerged several years later. On February 15, 2012, Iran announced that it had loaded 20% enriched nuclear fuel into the Tehran research reactor. At that moment, many countries feared that Iran's nuclear program could eventually lead to the development of nuclear weapons, raising concerns that another North Korea might emerge, this time in the Middle East. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, repeatedly stated that developing nuclear weapons was forbidden under Islamic law.
بر طبق مبانی ما، مبانی اعتقادی ما، مبانی دینی ما، به کار بردن این گونه وسایل کشتار جمعی اصلا ممنوعه، حرامه.
Nevertheless, those statements did little to ease international concerns. Among all countries, Israel felt the most threatened. Since the establishment of the Islamic Republic, Iran had repeatedly taken a hostile stance toward Israel. As a result, over the following years, Israel carried out a series of covert operations targeting Iran's nuclear program, including the assassination of several Iranian nuclear scientists. At the same time, U.S. President Barack Obama faced a difficult choice. Economic sanctions had failed to stop Iran's nuclear program, while the option of military action remained on the table. Instead of choosing war, Obama decided to pursue diplomacy. After months of negotiations, that decision eventually led to the signing of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. But the agreement didn't last as long as many had hoped. In 2018, U.S. President Donald Trump announced that the United States would withdraw from the JCPOA and reimpose tougher sanctions on Iran. The decision fueled tensions between Washington and Tehran, pushing their relationship into an even more confrontational phase. Over the following years, Iran gradually expanded its uranium enrichment program from 20% to 60%. Reports also emerged indicating the detection of uranium particles enriched to around 84%. Despite years of economic sanctions, international pressure, and the assassination of several Iranian nuclear scientists, Iran's nuclear program continued to move forward. As diplomatic efforts appeared to stall, the possibility of military action against Iran became increasingly serious. Then, on January 3, 2020, under the orders of President Donald Trump, Qasem Soleimani, the commander of Iran's Quds Force, was killed in a U.S. airstrike near Baghdad International Airport. The assassination of Soleimani triggered widespread anger across Iran and marked one of the most significant turning points in the confrontation between the two countries. Just a few days later, Iran launched its first direct military attack against a U.S. base. The target was Ain al-Assad Air Base in Iraq. Using ballistic missiles, Iran struck multiple areas of the base. U.S. officials later stated that personnel had been evacuated before the attack and that much of the equipment had already been moved, preventing a large-scale loss of life. Amid all of these developments, another major turning point arrived. On October 7, 2023, Hamas launched Operation Al-Aqsa Flood from the Gaza Strip against Israel. The attack triggered one of the most serious security crises in Israel's history. In the months that followed, the conflict expanded far beyond Gaza, drawing in Iran's regional allies, and eventually leading to direct confrontation between Iran and Israel. The first direct military exchange came after Israel struck the Iranian consular building in Damascus. In response, Iran launched a large-scale missile and drone attack against Israel. Nearly 300 missiles and drones were used in the operation, which Iran named Operation True Promise. But the story didn't end there. On May 19, 2024, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi was killed in a helicopter crash. The incident immediately sparked widespread speculation, with some suggesting that Israel might have been involved. However, Iranian authorities officially concluded that the crash was an accident, and no evidence of an assassination was publicly confirmed. Following the presidential election, Masoud Pezeshkian became Iran's new president. A few weeks later, Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, traveled to Tehran to attend the inauguration ceremony. Then, on July 31, 2024, Haniyeh was assassinated in Tehran. Although Israel did not officially claim responsibility, the operation was widely attributed to Israel. Afterward, some analysts proposed a theory suggesting that the death of Ebrahim Raisi had ultimately created the circumstances that brought Haniyeh to Tehran, where he was later assassinated. That theory, however, has never been officially confirmed or disproven and remains speculative. Following Haniyeh's assassination, Iran launched another missile strike against Israel, calling the Operation True Promise 2. Following Operation True Promise 2, Oman stepped in as a mediator, hosting indirect negotiations between Iran and the United States. Over several rounds of talks, representatives from both countries discussed the future of Iran's nuclear program and possible ways to reduce tensions. After each meeting, officials on both sides described the negotiations as positive and constructive, expressing optimism that a new agreement might be within reach. But while those negotiations were still underway, events took a dramatic turn. On June 15, 2025, Israel launched a large-scale military operation against Iran, marking the beginning of a direct war between the two countries. The conflict lasted 12 days. During the fighting, several senior Iranian military commanders were killed. Yet, contrary to many expectations, Iran's military command structure remained intact, and the country responded with sustained missile and drone attacks against Israel.
Wow.
Iran named this campaign Operation True Promise 3. In the final days of the war, the United States deployed B-2 Spirit stealth bombers to strike Iranian nuclear facilities. Shortly afterward, a temporary ceasefire was announced. As neither side resumed large-scale military operations, the temporary ceasefire gradually evolved into a de facto long-term truce. Following the end of the 12-day war, U.S. President Donald Trump declared that Iran should return to the negotiating table as soon as possible and resolve its nuclear program through diplomacy. He also warned that if negotiations failed, another military confrontation could become inevitable. Once again, Oman stepped forward as a mediator, hosting a new round of indirect negotiations between Iran and the United States. Throughout these talks, officials from both sides repeatedly described the discussions as productive and constructive, suggesting that a new agreement was still possible. However, after the final round of negotiations, optimism quickly faded. Both sides publicly expressed disappointment, and hopes for a diplomatic breakthrough began to disappear. Then came February 28, 2026. A new war erupted, one that, according to many analysts, affected not only the Middle East, but also the global economy. The conflict officially lasted 40 days, but its consequences and limited military confrontations continue to this day. In response to the attack, Iran launched what it called Operation True Promise 4, carrying out more than 100 waves of missile and drone attacks against U.S. and Israeli targets across the region. From that point on, the events were something the entire world watched unfold in real time. We saw how the conflict escalated, how both sides eventually agreed to a ceasefire, and how negotiations resumed in its aftermath. If you'd like me to make a full, in-depth video covering the entire 40-day war, from the very first strike to the ceasefire, with all the key events explained in detail, let me know in the comments below. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or constructive criticism about this video or its content, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave a comment below. I read every single one. And as always, thank you so much for watching until the very end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next one.